What's that? Out in space, it's a station with a T-Rex face, firing lasers and playing games and killing all those herbivores. Out beyond the atmosphere, he's collecting stuff and striking fear. Come on board and grab a beer for gameplay vids and retro cheer. T-Rex Space Station. Hi guys, it's Ben here from T-Rex Space Station. How's everyone doing? As you can see, for this video I've migrated out of the man cave and into the living room. The reason for that is mostly because my room's become a complete dump, but I've also managed to sort out my collection. You might see it behind me. I've managed to set up some shelves and get my collection all neat and tidy and in order. And I thought it would be cool to do a video in here for a change. It's also got much better light, so it is a little bit echoey, so do forgive me if there's any echoing going on. Today I want to talk about a couple of things, do a couple of video responses. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, well, is really a question. And the question is, in your opinion, what makes a good gameplay video? This has been something that I've been thinking about recently, obviously trying to improve my own channel and my own content, and thinking about what I like when I watch other people's gameplay videos. So I think that the first thing that's important is the choice of game that the person's showing. I mean, I don't really want to see gameplay videos of someone playing like Sonic 1 on the Sega Mega Drive. You know, a game that I've played 1,000 times before, and that I've probably seen hundreds and hundreds of videos of already. You know, YouTube is kind of saturated with videos of the very common games, and I probably wouldn't give that the time of day or bother to watch one. For me, I like to see videos of possibly rarer games, or games that I've not played before, or games that I don't own. Something that will kind of teach me a little bit about something new, and that will kind of intrigue me. I also like seeing games on slightly more unusual systems. And I really liked watching Harry Axe Postman Pat gameplay footage recently. A game that I'd never heard of and I'll probably never buy, and I probably would never have seen if it wasn't for that video. So yeah, I think the choice of game is really important. To maybe steer away from the lesser well-known titles or the really obvious titles and go for something slightly more nuanced or, you know, yeah, less widely available. I also like to see gameplay footage of niche titles. You know, there are loads and loads of indie games out there, and sometimes it can be hard to know which indie games to pick or which ones to play. And so if people do gameplay videos of slightly rarer indie titles, then that's really intriguing, and another way that will kind of grab my attention. So yeah. The second thing, I suppose, for a good gameplay video would be kind of like the person's personality. You know, nobody really wants to just see a dry commentary on what's happening on screen. It's really about, you know, who's playing it, what they find inspiring about the game, and kind of their personality. You know, whether there's a bit of humour there, or just if they're really into it. I think the energy levels and the passion of the commentator, should I say, really affects how much you want to see the gameplay video or not. And so certainly I look for, you know, someone who's really, really into it, who's inspired or passionate about the game. That will make you want to watch on and watch more of it. So yeah, definitely the personality of the person who's playing it. Another interesting thing that I've been thinking about in terms of gameplay videos is the skill level of the person that plays the game. Now I wonder, do you guys care about this? Because there are kind of two schools of thought here. Some people like to watch gameplay by somebody who's really quite good at the game. They've played it before, there's a lot of experience there. They can kind of share things, tips and tricks, things that they like, things that they've noticed, and you get a slightly more informed approach. On the other hand, there's the kind of real-world gaming experience that you get from channels like Steve Benway, where the person basically picks the game up, fresh out of the box, doesn't read the manual, puts it in, and you get to see exactly how it would play and exactly how it would be if you were just to pick it up out of the box. And that does give you that feeling. It just reminds me of being a kid, you know, when you would buy a game out and you'd have to wait to get home to play it, and you just, yeah, ignore the manual and put it straight in, and it does capture that kind of first gameplay experience feeling, which is really great. Personally, for myself, I don't mind either of those approaches. I do like to see gameplay footage of people that know what they're doing. It's kind of interesting. And I know Kit171 often plays games that he's really quite good at, and I think it's nice and possibly a bit easier on the eye to see gameplay footage that's like that. You know, it flows slightly better, the person will know what to say, they'll kind of know what's coming next, and yeah, maybe it is a little bit more aesthetic. But I do also really enjoy the kind of fresh out of the box, raw, first attempt gameplay footage too, and I've often done videos myself where I haven't really read the manual and don't really know what's coming. It can be slightly harder to give yes, a smooth flowing video if you've not played the game before, and sometimes you get little blips where you get stuck or you don't know how to do something and actually have to stop and go back and look at the manual. So I think the second kind does often run into more problems. I remember doing a Doctor Who gameplay video where I hadn't figured out the controls and I just went straight into it, recorded first time, and I just kept repeatedly dying and crashing into things because I had no idea what I was doing. But even so, I think both styles are relevant and both have their place. So what are your thoughts? What do you like to see in gameplay videos? What makes a good gameplay video? Are there any things that frustrate you about certain videos that you see? I don't know. Let me know what you think, and maybe you can give me some tips for my own stuff. And maybe, you know, I think a gameplay video is something that keeps improving as you go along, and the videos that I do now are definitely different to the ones that I did at the start. Okay, next up I wanted to respond to a question by Swifto. It was kind of, why do you make videos? I suppose sort of what motivates you to make videos. This is a really interesting question that I had to think a little bit about, and I thought I'd share my thoughts with you on this. I think the main reason why I make videos, or the reason why I started on YouTube, was out of a sense of curiosity. You know, I really liked watching other people's footage, watching their channels, watching things, excuse me, a little burp there, watching things develop. And I was curious to think, like, how do they do that? And is it hard? And could I do it myself? And there's this kind of sense of intrigue that I have. I really like to learn how things work and kind of, yeah, experiment and kind of learn. And I think YouTube videos are a learning process. So for me, the first and foremost thing was curiosity. And that's still the case now. You know, I like seeing how other people do videos, learning their approaches, learning new styles, learning how to use a video footage editing software, and just developing. And it's just a real curiosity and a fun. It's kind of like something to learn that's actually got a reward and it's quite, yeah, fun to do. It's not like reading a book or something. So yeah, that sense of curiosity. Can I do it? How do I improve it? You know, what would the outcome be if I started a YouTube channel? And it's just that kind of intrigue that's always kind of been there for me with creative things. Secondly, it's a big escape. Making YouTube videos, making footage, capturing things is a massive escape from the real world. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I'm really, really busy and I spend a lot of my time at work. And sometimes when I come home from work, I don't feel very sociable. It can be hard for me to kind of switch off and want to go out and talk to people, but I still want that interaction. And YouTube is a great way of kind of having some escapism while giving you an outlet for your time. And it is a great way of being interactive without actually having to speak to people in the real world, which is, I know it sounds slightly strange, but it's sort of true. I remember Steve Benway was saying, actually, you know, you don't know a great deal about the people on YouTube, and a lot of us on here sometimes do it to project something about ourselves that may not be there in the real world. You know, sometimes I don't feel like interacting with people, and this gives me a kind of escape where I can still appear to be confident and talkative and have that kind of outlet without actually having to go out there and socialise. And I think there can sometimes be two sides to YouTubers. This can give you a kind of safe environment to kind of practice in and express yourself in, when actually sometimes you may be feeling a little bit quieter and unsociable in the real world. I don't know. So yeah, it's kind of an escape and a stress relief and something completely different from what I do in the daytime. And it's somewhere to go to. If I've had a bad day, I can just, yeah, make a video, talk to people, have that outlet. So thirdly, I think the reason why I make videos is to make friends. I really like the interaction that YouTube provides. You know, when you make a new video and someone comments on it, it really makes my day. It's like what I thrive on. And I just love making friends and being part of a community. This has really given me something that I didn't have before. You know, a group of people that have a really similar interest to me that I probably wouldn't have bumped into. You know, a lot of people at work aren't into video games. A lot of people in my social circles aren't that into video games either. So this is kind of like a place where I can retreat to and be amongst my own sort of people. So yeah, I think those would be the three big reasons why I make videos. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was kind of video game collecting. Scott the Console Snob did a really interesting video recently in his Get Real series talking about, like, you know, why you collect, talking about pickup videos and sort of talking about maybe the thoughts behind why you buy games. I've actually become a little bit disillusioned with watching pickup videos recently. It's kind of just like, here's loads of stuff that I bought, and I think Scott was suggesting it. Maybe sometimes people do just buy games just to show in their pickup videos, which is a little bit vacuous and kind of boring. You know, we don't just want to see games that you've purchased, that's just like, I don't know, it's just a bit empty. There's not much to it. And, you know, similarly, that can be true when we're buying games. You know, sometimes I've just gone out there and spotted games that are cheap and just bought them straight up. And then they're sat on the shelf and I've not even bothered playing them. And I think that's one of the other dangers with the Steam summer sale. You know, there's so many really cheap, accessible games on there right now, and the reflex is just to go on there and purchase a hell of a lot of stuff. But it's like, is that a good idea? And will I actually play any of those games? Am I just shelling out money for the sake of it? And so now more than ever, I'm starting to think, you know, where's my collection going and what's the point in buying all these video games if I don't play them? And so I'm now starting to have to think a bit more critically about what I'm doing. You know, I've only really been working for like, you know, 2 and a bit years now. So obviously once I got out there into the real world and had money that was mine, the first thing I did was to spend it on loads of games, and I just bought them kind of in an unfocused manner on things that I wanted to, without thinking very critically about it. But now I'm getting to a point where I think where I've bought enough stuff that I have to start thinking about what I'm doing with it. Am I going to play all of this stuff? Should I sell some of it off? And what's the direction that my collection's taking? You know, what's my end goal? Now, I think a big part of it was just nostalgia. It was buying back stuff that I'd liked when I was a kid so I could play it again. But actually, some of the games that I've bought now, just to see what they're like, I didn't even play when I was younger. So it's like, nostalgia can't be the only thing here. And I think now myself and others are starting to think quite smartly about buying games. Am I going to buy stuff that I'll actually play, or am I just buying it on a whim? You know, there's only so much space in the flat to put stuff. And so what I've done is I've actually organised my collection now into these shelves. I went to IKEA. IKEA is very exciting. I know I'm getting old to actually be excited by a furniture shop, but it is. But now that I can see my collection all organised, it kind of gives me more of an idea of how much I'm actually buying and where the stuff's going and how many games I've got. So I think that, you know, I'm going to be thinking a bit more carefully now about the space and sort of the volume of games that I'm purchasing. And I can see quite clearly games here that I probably won't be playing much of. So maybe I'll sell those. Certainly I won't be buying a massive amount more games just on a whim or just because they're cheap, or, you know, 5 for £20 in game, unless there's a good reason to. And, you know, having a limited amount of space on my shelf to fill is going to make me think much more carefully about what I'm buying. So, yeah, I think it's good to set yourself some goals and think about where you're going with your collection. And I really enjoyed Scott's video talking about that, and it kind of put things into perspective a bit for me. I think, yes, just the other thing we talked about a bit on the Retro Unlim live stream recently was about emulation. And I think one of the cool things about emulators or digital collections is that they don't take up space. And just becoming more and more space conscious. One of the advantages of having a digital collection is it's just there. It's not going to fill up your flat. It's not going to create clutter. A big list of games that you can access really easily and not run out of shelf space. So yeah, maybe that's one of the big advantages of having like a digital collection. I don't know. So yeah, just a few thoughts that I thought I'd share with you about a few of those things. I will post links to the videos that I've mentioned in the section below. Please do comment and let me know your thoughts on this stuff. Alright guys, thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take it easy, bye.